Hey everyone, Michael P. Spradlin. I'm back with chapter 27 of The Youngest Templar, and I'm just going to get right into it today. It's a long chapter, so here we go. This is the one I spoke of, Marshal Carresco, Sir Hugh said. His smile told me all I needed to know. It was a spider's smile, if spiders were to actually smile. He could barely contain his glee at finding me here. How could this be? How could he have escaped from Acre? And more important, did he know what I carried here? Sir Hugh's tunic looked freshly cleaned. He appeared fit and rested. True, he hadn't done much fighting in Acre, but now to see him up close, I was astounded to see him free of any signs of warfare or battle. No wounds or scars, not a bruise to be seen, just his pinched face and that same scraggly beard. The marshal looked at Sir Hugh, then at me. Is that so? He said. This one has been nothing but trouble since he joined the order. He has no doubt deserted his post in Acre, and it appears he has stolen Templar property. What? I haven't stolen anything, I protested loudly. Then how do you explain this sword? Sir Hugh stood across the room, drawing the sword that hung across my back. This sword belonged to Sir Thomas Leyu of my regimento. I would like to know how this boy is possession of it, he said. Marshal Carresco looked at me, waiting for an answer. This is Sir Thomas's sword, that is true. But he gave it to me when I left Acre, under his orders. I turned, staring directly at Sir Hugh when I spoke. He didn't hold my gaze, walking around behind the table to stand at Marshal Carresco's side, opposite the other night. And why did he order you away from Acre, exactly? The marshal asked. The Saladin's forces breached the city walls. We fought hand to hand through the cities. The knights prepared to make a last stand in the Crusaders' palace. There's a secret passage there. Sir Thomas sent me through it with orders to travel to Tyre as quickly as I could and deliver the news. I met up with Robard a few days' journey from Tyre, and we traveled here together, I told him. The marshal's eyes narrowed, and he leaned back in his chair, trying to take it all in. When did you leave Acre? He asked. More than a week ago. Sir Thomas gave me strict instructions to travel only at night. That slowed me down. We had some encounters with bandits, but managed to run them off. I didn't mention the assassins. No sense in giving out too many details. This is absurd, Sir Hugh cried. He is obviously a liar and a thief. We should show him in the Grail immediately. Marshal Carresco held up his hand, silencing Sir Hugh. Do you have anything that proves your story? Marshal Carresco asked. For a moment, I regretted leaving Sir Thomas's ring and letter hidden with the Grail, but instinct had commanded me, and no doubt Sir Hugh would have accused me of stealing the ring as well. Just this. If I am the thief Sir Hugh thinks I am, why would I bother to come straight here to the commandery and report to you with my stolen sword so plainly in sight? Why would I not just slip away? Marshal Carresco glanced at Sir Hugh and seemed on the verge of considering my argument. And there's one more thing. Another reason why I came immediately here. A few days ago, we narrowly escaped detection by a patrol of Saracens. Marshal Carresco leapt to his feet. Saracens! Are you certain? He asked. Throughout this entire exchange, Robard had remained silent in the corridor behind me. He decided now was the time to speak up. Of course we're certain. I've been fighting them nonstop for the last 2 years. I think I know what a Saracen looks like, he offered. And for added effect, he looked directly at Sir Hugh as if sensing his natural cowardice and said, Do you? Sir Hugh glared at Robard but said nothing. And where were you exactly? The marshal asked. Not more than 40 leagues west of the city. We heard a patrol approaching and managed to hide in the underbrush. They searched us for a while, but then gave up when their commander ordered them to remount. He said they needed to return to camp to ready for the attack on Tyre, I said. And how do you know what a Saracen commander said? Sir Hugh said in. I realized my mistake. I couldn't tell them about Marion. If I did, they'd never believe me. I needed a convincing lie. We were camped with a trader bound for Tyre. He spoke Arabic, and he heard the Saracen's words. Every time I told a lie, the abbot's face popped in my head. He would be disappointed in me for all the lies I had learned to tell so easily. A small bead of sweat found a path from my forehead down my neck. The look on the marshal's face was impossible to read. Did he believe me? Marshal Carresco, he is lying. He's trying to concoct some story of an attack to cover up his crimes. I demand we put him in jail right now. Sir Hugh was obviously excited at the prospect of seeing me in chains. Marshal Carresco turned to the Sargento standing beside him. Brother Lewis, please gather a few men-at-arms and escort these young men to the jail. Hold them until I return from the king's headquarters. We will sort this out later. If indeed there are Saracens nearby, we will need to discuss our strategy, he said. Brother Lewis shouted out a command, and I heard the corridor behind me fill with men-at-arms. What? Robard yelled. You'll not lock me away. He began pushing his way down the hallway, but the men-at-arms blocked his path. I looked back at Marshal Carresco. Marshal Carresco, you cannot do this. I am telling you the truth. Please, I pleaded. That may be, but I cannot discount the word of another marshal of the order. I promise you that you will be held there only until I return from conference with the king. We must attend to this news of the Saracens. Then we will sort out the facts of your story, he said. Sir Hugh glared at me, but his lips curled into a self-satisfied smile. I knew we would never see Marshal Coresco again if Sir Hugh had his way. The men-at-arms led Robard out of the hallway. They had relieved him of his bow and wallet. Two others entered the room and relieved me of my short sword, each taking an arm, leading me to the corridor. Sire, please, I shouted, struggling against their grip, but Marshal Corescu had already talking busily with Brother Louis. He gave us a dismissive wave. We were led out of the main hall and through the gates of the commandery, past the startled guard who had let us enter only moments before. Robard was shouting and cursing, making a very big commotion, but with no weapon there was little he could do. The men-at-arms ignored him. So it would appear that your protector has abandoned you, Sir Hugh said tauntingly. Sir Thomas was likely died a hero's death, fighting with his comrades to the end, unlike you, who seem to have made a very convenient escape from a battled and surrounded city. How did you do it? How did you flee Acre? I asked. My activities are no concern of yours, he said. I can't tell you how it pleases me to see your fall from grace. Sir Thomas was an officious, pompous fool, countermanding my orders in front of the men, doing anything he could to undermine and embarrass me. You don't need anyone's help to embarrass yourself, I interrupted. Sir Hugh reacted by angrily shoving me forward into the street. I staggered but didn't fall. Well, it appears he misplaced his faith in you. Look at you now, a failure easily captured, likely to hang if I have anything to say about it. Which I will, he said. I didn't respond, though I certainly would have voted against being hanged. As we were dragged along toward the jail, small crowds of people formed in the street to watch us pass by. For a moment, I thought I saw Miriam. Here and there I caught a glimpse of a black tunic, but then I wasn't sure. It could have been anyone. The jail was perhaps a half-league from the commandery, and shortly we entered a large earthen building. Inside was a single room holding a table and bench along the far wall to the right. Along the back wall were the cells, 3 of them built like cages in the room, each enclosed by iron bars with a small barred window. Our weapons were laid on the table. Robard was taken to the far left cell. The men-at-arms pushed him inside, shutting the door with a clang. Robard turned to the sound, spitting at them, cursing in very specific ways about what he thought of them and their mothers. But they paid him no mind. Now, young squire, you will answer my questions, or you will spend the rest of your days in there, Sir Hugh said, pointing to the cell next to Robard. Where is it? Do you have it with you? Where's what? I asked. Don't toy with me, squire, Sir Hugh said. I give you marks for bravery, but now, tell me. He ripped the blanket and satchel from around my shoulder. He walked to the table in the middle of the room, shaking out the blanket and dumping the contents of the satchel on the table. Where is it? He snarled. I haven't any idea what you're talking about, I said. Do you think I'm joking, squire? He sneered. His fist flew out and backhanded me across the face. I tasted blood in my mouth, but did not cry out. Rubbing the blood from my lip, I vowed not to allow him to gain any advantage over me. What I think is that a nun hits harder than you. Other than that, I have no idea what you're talking about. Seeing Sir Hugh had started a fire in me again. I thought of Sir Thomas dying at his post. Then I saw this coward standing before me. He had slunk away before the fight began. Most likely, I could not bear it. Quincy and Sir Basil and some of the bravest men I knew were likely dead, and this vermin thought he would break me? I swore that no matter what he did to me, I would tell this man nothing. Sir Hugh's eyes bored into me, but I held his gaze, determined not to blink. You will tell me where it is now, he said. Sir Hugh, Sir Thomas sent me here to warn the commandery that Acre had fallen. As I explained to the marshal, Sir Hugh grabbed me by the tunic, pulling my face close to his. His voice was a whisper of barely contained rage. You have it. The Grail. Sir Thomas had it. He would not have left it in Acre, so he must have given it to you. I tell you so you will understand me. I will have it. Now you will tell me where it is. Do you hear me? I'm sorry, what did you say? I said to Sir Hugh, my face only inches from his mouth. His fist drew back again, but he stopped himself, releasing his grip on me as if some outside force had suddenly caused him to regain his composure. He rubbed his hands over his face, pacing back and forth in front of me a few times. All right, squire, you win. You have what I want, but I believe I possess something that you will find far more valuable than the Grail. You have nothing I need, Sir Hugh, I said. Don't be so quick to judge, boy, he said. He looked at me, his face almost grateful, taking great joy in drawing out the moment. I waited, silent, determined not to let him bait me. I know who you are, where you were born, your parents, everything. I tried not to let my face show anything, but failed miserably. I felt as if I'd been punched solidly in the stomach. My vision narrowed, and it was suddenly difficult to breathe. Then I remembered who I was dealing with. Liar. You lie, I said. No, I really don't, he said. His voice was low enough so that only I could hear him. I know everything, you see. We suspected you had been left in an abbey or a nunnery as a babe, but weren't sure which one. We searched and searched for you for months after your birth, but the monks did a good job of keeping you hidden. Isn't it rich that I stumbled across you 15 years later? It was Sir Thomas who insisted that we stop at St. Albans that night as we rode toward Dover. I thought nothing of it at first, but when you injured my horse and he took such an immediate interest in you, it aroused my suspicion. Interested now? He asked, his face still only inches from mine. I said nothing. It took me a while, but I pieced it all together. I followed you to the stables that night, intending to give you the thrashing you deserve, but that stupid monk showed up. Lucky for you. Then Sir Thomas invited you along with us, and I knew there was more to you than met the eye. Sir Thomas would never take on such a doltish, incompetent squire. The next day I sent riders to the abbey, and I learned some interesting things, he gloated. I remembered seeing Sir Hugh with the king's guards outside the commandery gates. He had sent his men to the abbey? For what purpose? I learned a great many things. It's interesting what men will tell you when their fingers are being broken. Now I know everything, and I'll tell you everything. You just tell me where you've hidden the Grail. The knight you swore allegiance to has played you for a fool. I felt dizzy and disoriented. I couldn't breathe. Sir Hugh had sent riders to the abbey to torture the monks and question them about me? Why? How could I possibly be that important? Now he claimed to have knowledge of the one thing I wished to know my entire life? Then Sir Thomas's words came back to me, and I remembered the Cretan who stood in front of me. A liar, a coward, and a cheat. Even if I told him what he wanted, he would kill me anyway. I would need to find my answers elsewhere. He was probably lying about everything. No, I said. I came here carrying news of Acre. Before I could finish, Sir Hugh bellowed in rage, grabbing my tunic in his fist and drawing his other hand back to strike me. Just then another band-at-arms burst into the room, saving me from another blow. Sir Hugh, Marshal Carescu has requested your presence at the king's headquarters. We have other confirmed reports of Saracen patrols in the surrounding countryside. Battle orders are being drawn as we speak, he said. Sir Hugh's face paled at the mention of the Saracen patrols, his cowardice revealing itself. Don't worry, Sir Hugh, I said. There's still plenty of time for you to escape before the fighting starts. Sir Hugh roared again, dragging me across the floor of the jail, then shoving me into the cell next to Robard. He glared at me, then straightened himself. Of course, he said to the newly arrived man. He pointed at the other two guards in the room. 2 of you stay here at all times. No one is to visit either of them. No one enters this building without my orders. Understood? With a backward glance at me, Sir Hugh turned. I'll return, Squire, he hissed, and when I do, I think you will tell me everything I want to know. With that, Sir Hugh and his men departed, leaving just the 2 guards for Robard and myself. I had no idea how to get us out of this mess. To say Robard was in a state does not do justice to his mood. He paced back and forth in his cell like a caged beast, muttering and cursing. Finally, he was quiet as he stared first at me, then at the men-at-arms sitting across the room. Care to explain? He said in a low voice. I gave Robard a brief accounting of my history with Sir Hugh. What I don't understand is how he escaped from Acre. The city was surrounded and overrun. The knights are making a last stand at the Crusaders' palace, I said. I told Robard nothing of what Sir Hugh had offered to tell me. No need to complicate things. Besides, I was sure he was lying anyway. Well, I have to tell you. I did not count on landing in jail when I met up with you in the woods. I don't like this. I don't like this one bit, he said. He was angry. I held out my hands, waving them down, nodding toward the guards who sat on the bench against the far wall. They looked bored and disinterested. But I had no doubt they'd been instructed by Sir Hugh to listen carefully to any conversation that passed between us. Robard, I am sorry you were caught up in this, I said. I never expected to find Sir Hugh here alive. If the Templars perished defending Acre, he should be dead. Yet here he is. He must have found a way to sneak out of the city, or else he took the same route I did. But I knew why Sir Hugh was here. He wanted the Grail. Plain and simple. What I could not figure out yet was how he knew I had it. Sir Thomas had only a few of the knights in the entire order even knew of the Grail. He was one of the few, and I could not imagine him sharing that knowledge with Sir Hugh, whom he held in such low regard. Unless Sir Hugh knew of the Grail's existence before Sir Thomas did, or had learned of its existence some other way, and that Sir Thomas was the one who guarded it. Something told me this was not the case. I couldn't imagine knowledge of something so valuable and rare being entrusted to such a liar and a cheat. No doubt, through villainous means, Sir Hugh had followed the trail that led to me. Now, more than ever, I needed a way to get the Grail to safety. Robard continued pacing. I moved to the corner of my cell and sat slumped against the wall. Soon the shadows grew darker and the twilight crept in. When darkness arrived, one of the men-at-arms lighted an oil lamp sitting on the table, filling the room with dim light. Robard and I were silent for a long time, thinking. In the streets, as we were being led here, I thought I saw Miriam watching. Perhaps she'll... Don't even mention her name, Robard interrupted. She's under no obligation to help us anymore anyway. She's long gone. If we're going to get out of here, we're going to have to do it on our own. We've seen the last of that assassin. With impeccable timing, Miriam's face appeared in the window of Robard's cell, and she whispered quietly, "Hello, Archer. Did you miss me?" And that's the end of chapter 27. We'll be back tomorrow with chapter 28. Everybody take care.